Hi, and welcome to another episode of the South Texas Power Lunch. I'm here with Greg Cooper from SocialMiningAi. Greg, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is going to be a great time because we're going to talk about technology, tech development, patents, and the exciting things that SocialMiningAi is doing here. And, but before we get into all that, give us that journey story for you and how you got to where you're sitting here today and social mining is where it is today. Give us that story. Everybody's always fascinated by those.
Yeah, I think we have a really unique story, right? So when you ask me to give you that story, I'm like, do you want me to start when I was born? Or
Hey, you can go all the way back to that point.
Because, you smooth out the surface, right? Like being thrown into a river, rocks get really smooth, right?
Yeah.
I think I was not born to do this. I was created to do it.
Oh, okay.
Right? And so it's been an evolution.
Sure.
For sure. And it's easy to see now, about 18 months into entrepreneurship, why not a lot of people do this. Oh man!
Everybody thinks it's sexy, right? You're like, oh, you're a startup guy. Oh, you have a company. Oh man!
You're a CEO.
Hey, do you have like box tickets to the Lakers
right?
and everything?
Because
you're a CEO.
That's coming.
But yeah, they don't get it. I love this quote, and I've just wrote it down. You weren't born to do it; you were created to do it. Because that's really what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, entrepreneurs come in here all the time, and some of them will speak on camera, but they will speak off camera. Of the challenges of being a CEO.
Man. No, I'm happy to.
And, with success actually comes with more stress. I mean, we've got another person coming on that sold the company because the person got to the point where, they're like, I can't do this every day.
Yeah.
I've got clients the same way. They're like, this is great, but, I've been doing this for 40 years and I'm done with this thing and all the, the glamour, / challenges that come with being a CEO. So it's a great quote. I'm gonna say that one's a great quote. I just got to just tell you how good that one was.
I appreciate it. Yeah, there's a time and a season, right?
Sure.
And I think something you just described to me is a season that I'm excited for. Right?
Of course.
I think every entrepreneur is. Or at least early on, right? I think you stay an entrepreneur forever in your career. It's just something that you have that drives you and motivates you. And quite frankly, I don't even think that you have to own a company or start a company to be an entrepreneur.
I agree.
I think it's just a mindset.
It's mindset, and I'd say it's kind of a spirit.
It's a spirit. It's a tenacity. It's just a will. Because even when I was working in corporate America, I treated my job as if I owned my region or I owned my department, and I treated it as if I was the CEO and founder of that.
Right.
Which led to success in what I was doing. And so I think if we tackle everything that comes our way, that in that mindset, then we'll conquer what's necessary to get over and reach a level of success that you're looking for. Right?
Well, I think that's a great summary of entrepreneurship and what it takes. What was it for you? Because you mentioned, a short time span as the CEO and true entrepreneur, where you've got kind of free out there. Walk us back into the corporate world,
okay?
Right, and the decision that the corporate ladder, because it is a ladder, even when we take it was, I'm not going up the corporate ladder. I'm going to shoot off, do my own thing, and chart my own destiny. Walk us back through that piece.
All right. So even before so I'm happy to get started in there, but I want to kind of preface my journey. So I was raised by an FBI profiler.
Oh, okay.
So one of the original. So my father and I share the same name. And there's a series on Netflix called Mindhunter.
Yep.
And so it's really a journey about his career. And
it's a great show.
John Douglas. Yeah, it's a good show. I don't think he's ever watched it.
Nope, he lived it. Why would he want to watch it again?
Yeah. So I bring that up because one thing that I've recognized about myself is I tend to not just take no for an answer because I want to know the why.
Sure.
And it helps me get to the bottom of things. So I'll come back to why that's important here in a moment. I guess I'll start in my career. I kind of started at a company called Dealer Socket.
Okay.
So we'll just talk about when I started there. I had just overcome rectal cancer. I was 26 years old and just gotten married, and some founders at a pretty successful startup, but successful already, had taken a chance on me and allowed me to come work for that company. So I having to deal with life-threatening disease and other things that I had been through, right? Earlier I had said I was created.
Right.
It's just the evolution. And there's a level of persistence that comes with the man that I am today because of everything that I've gone through.
Of course.
And I have no quit. I have no quit in me. So I sure had quit in me early on, but through the things that I've been through, I've recognized that as long as you don't quit, you can do whatever you want.
You can. It can be painful. You can
painful.
do whatever you want.
It is painful.
But yeah, the ability to persevere, right,
yeah,
and grit, those type of things. Yeah, people want to. That word is real.
Yeah.
When you have to go through things, especially for things that people can really understand, like cancer.
Yeah.
Of what it takes to go through those. But yeah, no,
I was really young, right?
Sure.
And had a beautiful woman willing to marry me, and on paper, I mean, come on, like I didn't have a whole lot of money, if any, at the time. I just overcome cancer, and having her believe in me even at that stage in my life, and then these founders of this company, Dealer Socket, give me a chance. I took advantage of that opportunity. So Dealer Socket first started out as a CRM,
okay,
customer relationship management software for the automotive space. Turned into a whole conglomerate of technology for dealerships, and we can get there. But my experience there was incredible, and my why stems from my first few years at that company. So the culture was unbelievable. The founders made you want to run through, or willing to run through brick walls for them for $2 an hour.
Right. Right.
And it was definitely not the compensation when we first started.
Sure.
That drove it, but the culture, the camaraderie that was there. And so we all had a vision and shared the vision of the founders and wanted to bring that forward. I started as the lowest man on the totem pole, right? And within, 5-6 years, maybe longer than that, it's just 8 years, I became the vice president of sales for the entire, for an entire vertical of that company, right? So nationwide VP of sales for the entire used car market. And we sold websites, CRM, inventory management solutions.
Right, turnkey solutions, essentially, right?
Yeah, everything that a dealership will need to run their business. If you know the technology that they need to run their business, you can apply that to any vertical.
Sure.
Right. Every company needs these types of technologies.
It's a retail, right? It's a specific retail industry, but it's a retail industry.
Yeah, and then you get into the OEM and the manufacturer side.
Right.
It's very similar.
That's right.
And if you can sell to a dealer principal, or a general manager, or a used car manager, I think you can sell to anybody.
If you can sell to the used car salesperson and get them to buy, man, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And so the stereotype is real. Great people, but I found just that there was a need for technology in any business.
Sure.
But I really cut my teeth, so to speak, at Dealer Socket, working at, just cold calling dealerships, setting up appointments, to then doing my own presentations. And over time, learning every aspect of every piece of technology that was being sold or used.
Okay.
So that's where I started. Dealer Socket got to a point where they had an offer on the table for, about $1 billion. So when I got there, we were doing about 2.4 or so. No, sorry, excuse me. We were doing about 3.5 million in ARR. Okay. And so I was, I'd say within the first 30 or 40 employees. So still a pretty big team, but man, we had a long ways to go to get to where the CEO and founders wanted us to be, or could see that we could get to.
Sure.
That experience allowed me a lot of room to grow and to stretch, because even though maybe my job when I first started was to cold call and schedule appointments, they needed me to do a whole lot of other things.
Right.
And being part of that experience and recognizing what it took for the founders to succeed, I felt like I could do this. Right? Okay. After 12 years. So I went through 12 years of hard knocks, right?
Well, but I mean, you know, the credit to you, right? Some people jump in and think within 12 weeks, I can do this.
Oh, no, goodness.
Right? And then they jump out and go, well, never mind.
Yeah.
You know, now I got the real truth of what it is. At least with that, I'm assuming came increased responsibility, better visibility into, you know, various aspects of running from development to sales to management and everything else that has probably pays you well now versus if you would have waited 12 months.
Absolutely.
To do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hence my slogan at the beginning, right? Created.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just went through this evolution, and I was very blessed to have the opportunity, but I took full advantage.
Sure.
There are plenty of people that I worked with that, you know, maybe the company outgrew over time. They didn't continue to get promoted. They went elsewhere. I was able to live and breathe there as long as I wanted. Right. And continued to, man, when I first started, I was like, what it would be like to be the vice president of sales at this company.
Right.
The company only had 40, 50 employees at the time.
Yeah.
I remember going to dinner with my mom and my wife one night after I had first started. And my mom, she has premonitions. She says, you're going to run that company in sales one day. And my wife to this day says she couldn't stop laughing. Not that she didn't believe I could do it, but she saw like where
it was. It was an audacious goal at that part. But you know what? You got to have audacious goals. That's the only way you get to big places.
You got to have a believer in you, right?
Yeah.
And so needless to say, when it happened, you know, like 11 years later, it was not what I thought it was. And I was now the vice president of a much bigger organization.
Sure.
Right? Like, but I would have, what I was thinking back then was like, man, if I could just be a VP of sales for this 50 or so employee company. So my why, right? My why was to recreate that culture that was once there. And there were some inner workings and things that were going on. I lifted my head and realized that, you know what, this is no longer the company that we started.
Sure.
It had gotten so big. Vista Equities came in, and
well, cultures change, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, and the ones, I mean, look, you know, like some of the high culture companies like Zappos, right? Zappos, you know, he had the tribe mentality. He had these really cool cultures.
Yeah.
Those are relatively gone now once they were been acquired by Amazon, you know, from a large extent.
Absolutely.
And so, you know, cultures, to keep those type of smaller cultures where you can do some really unique things to be vibrant as you grow is a massive challenge.
Yes.
And then it is almost impossible when you're acquired by a multi, you know,
billion.
Some sort of conglomerate or industry consolidator where now you're melding of cultures on there. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, that those type of things happen.
So I started being reached out to and looking, and I found a company in San Antonio that I believed in.
Okay.
Through some friends and acquaintances and introductions.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, I could recreate that culture at this startup.
Sure.
They were looking for a CRO at the time. I fit the bill, and I was willing to take the leap. And I had watched every YouTube video out there on motivation and you know what? If you're comfortable, you're not growing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm way too comfortable right now.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, there's a part of that. It's called anxiety and stress that comes with that not being comfortable part. They don't talk about it.
They don't talk about
videos.
Exactly. But I was like, yeah, I need to grow. I need to learn again. I could do my job in my sleep with my eyes closed right now. And I'm not learning what I was even when I first started at this company.
Right.
Anymore, right. So I decided that I wanted to take that leap. And this is right when COVID was not, we weren't wearing masks, but it was so new that it's like, hey, we think it might have made it to the States.
Yeah.
Right. But
You're talking about February, March 2020, but within a matter of 3 to 4 weeks the
later,
hospital shut down and everything shut down.
My wife and I were having our third son.
Oh, wow.
And so here I am leaving a career path that most people, I think, would kill for. But I wanted that. My why was just like, I have a team of people that love and trust me as a leader. I want to find a culture that they can be happy about, excited about, and a product that they can be really proud to represent. So I went and I started working for this company that I found as a CRO. And long story short, it was not the startup that everybody in my circle had thought.
Sure.
And so I think that there was some red flags I was willing to ignore because my why was more important than these red flags.
Well, and people will jump in on a mission, right? If your why matches the company's why, well, that looks like a great fit. Yeah. But then if you start to realize that the why you were told for the company is really a painting, and wait a minute, the actual things don't match that. Yeah. I mean, that's where another reason why companies don't make it is because culture doesn't match the actual reality of what's going on in the day-to-day way they're running the company.
I couldn't agree more. And it's a shame because I totally believed in what I could do for the company and the product. But the expectations and what was really happening. My experience at Dealer Soccer early on let me know right away on day one that there's no way that this company could be at this level already.
Sure.
Given the architecture of it.
Sure.
Right.
And that's the experience part, right? The details.
Yeah.
You get a lot of people in startups, they're good at pitching. Yeah. They're good at, I've identified a market issue and a solution, right? But then they can't execute on it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people will try to oversell the operational ability because what it really takes for a CEO is visionary thinking and either the ability for them to execute or the ability for them to identify the right people to put on the team to execute in order to do it. And sometimes people miss that.
Well, and that's the book Multipliers.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So what you just defined, right? Like the best CEO and leader is the type that can actually get other people because it takes a village.
Sure.
Right? So
it's leadership versus management.
Yes.
If I've got to manage, I can't really be the leader.
And decision making versus debate.
That's right.
Right? Like you want to bring up a healthy debate, not just make decisions.
That's right. And but you also can't have a debate with no decision because then that can actually, cause. I mean, I've got another client.
No action taken.
Yeah, they're deadlocked.
Yeah.
Because it's the culture, and actually the way they're structured is it requires debate and consensus. Yeah. Well, consensus is good until if this building starts to burning down, and we have to agree of a consensus on how to get out. Yeah. We may not get out because we're too busy trying to have consensus, right? Yeah. Now, if it's where we're going for lunch, we'll probably figure out where to go for lunch.
Unless it's my wife and I. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Or if it's my kids, man. Kids, I don't know why y'all can't figure out where to go to eat ever. They will cross paths just to cross paths. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
That's okay.
But anyway, so you're back in the company. Yeah. You're seeing the red flags. It's looking like, hey, this isn't going to work out.
Well, one thing you brought up, right? A lot of entrepreneurs or startups think that they've recognized a market fit and a product, but they might not be experts in that market.
Sure.
And the automotive space is a very cold and lonely space if you don't know it.
Sure.
And I see a lot of people that it's actually a very welcoming, incredible community.
Oh, really?
But it took 12 years and working at a company
sure.
well known.
But you got to pay your dues in order to get in. But once you're in,
it's a good old boys club for sure.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, now that makes more sense to me, the good old boys club. I was like, they welcome you on day one? Really? I think they welcome my used vehicle or my money for a new vehicle, but I don't feel
you got to earn your stripes for sure.
I got it.
But even so, like a lot of technologies, they might come to the table and say, hey, this could work for a dealership or an OEM.
Yeah.
But does it belong at a dealership? And what I mean by that is, believe it or not, dealerships have more processes than most people understand or realize. And if your technology, you think, oh, hey, I could show a dealer that this person wants to buy a car. If that person can't get in within their CRM or from their website and fill out a form and an application and this whole process that has to take place.
Sure.
They're not going to follow up with that person.
Yeah. People don't appreciate dealerships, from the fact of their margins are good, but they're ever decreasing, right? The longer they have those, floor financings, that model sits there, then they're ending up paying more to the bank. Just like when you flip a house, right? The minute you're going to flip a house, you start cranking on that. Time matters, cost matters to get done, and people don't realize it. They just think, oh, these dealerships, man, they got billions of dollars. Look at all, there's not cars on the lots now. But in the old days, there's cars all over the place, right? They were trying to go vertical. But literally, they're like, no, those cars are burning their pockets the longer they sit there.
So even you had just made a statement, there's no cars on the lot, right?
That's right.
Right.
So now it's even more of how do you get the supply to match the demand and do it, those.
And used car dealers are really suffering because they don't, most of them don't do service. So service keeps the lights on.
That's right. That's right.
But selling cars tends to be the profit because you paid all the other bills.
All right, so sidecar on this because it's just fascinating, and I want to mark it into history. My parents have a truck. It is a year and a half old. Barely drive it. That truck is now worth more money than it was when they bought it.
Yep. Yeah,
which
crazy.
I'm like,
crazy.
Hold on, a depreciating asset actually appreciated over time?
That's scary, though.
Yeah, and even if they look at their debt payments and everything on it, like the interest payments, it still is appreciated. It's a unique time in the auto industry. Sorry, another digression.
But that's the thing. I could spend hours just talking about automotive.
But to your point, right, you either know it and you know all about it, or you don't. And I don't know it. I know some of it, right? But you're talking about the inner workings of a very intricate machine that is needed.
Sorry. One of the things that our product does, like even you from the outside can recognize there's a problem.
Sure.
So one of the things that we've developed is a way to help dealerships actually market to private party listings.
Oh, nice.
Right? Because most dealers, they use all they ever did to go buy used inventory or get cars because the manufacturer shut down. So the OEM's not sending them the new vehicles like they used to. So they never really solicited to private party listings.
Sure.
So you have CarMax that did a good job with it. You have Vroom or Carvana that was their whole business model.
Right.
But now dealerships have to get on that playing field.
Right.
So that's one of the things that's really cool about our AI.
Well, let's move. So let's close up the journey real quick and let's get into that. So you jump out. You've got an opportunity to basically acquire some business technology,
so that's what I did,
right?
So I left that company, and because I saw what was happening.
Sure.
I started my own company.
Yep.
Because I saw, what I wanted to build. And then that company ended up being something that I was able to put myself in a position and acquire.
Right.
Okay. So great.
So now we're into your passion, the technology, right? The culture you want to create. The plan that was there when you jumped, out of Dealer Socket is now into place. Yeah. Tell us about this technology.
Yeah. Great. So SocialMiningAi, we actually have 3 fully awarded patents.
Okay.
2 patents we're waiting on issuance numbers because you pay a fee and then just wait for the number to come. And then 1 is already issued, actually.
Okay.
So we use artificial intelligence to find opportunities online, usually through text, right? So some form of text. So if you go on, Twitter or Reddit, right? Or Facebook, if it's a community group in public, or online forums, Bimmer posts.
Okay.
All these places where people belong to a community or have a passion that they start asking questions about to get answers.
Sure.
We actually can get that data, see those posts, and then use our neural networks to find several different things. But one of the patents is specific on purchase intent.
Okay.
And it's not even specific to automotive. So it's very broad.
Sure.
Which is an incredible patent to have.
So the patent is the neural technology to decipher purchase intent.
Using neural technology. But any type of AI. So machine learning, deep learning.
Yeah.
Any type of AI. And getting this data, sending it through an algorithm. Now, the patent is not specific to the algorithm, which is a beautiful thing. Because if somebody goes out and finds another way to do it.
Sure.
If we patented just our algorithm, they could do it any other way other than
around your algorithm versus
Exactly.
the business process.
But now it's concept.
Yeah.
Right. It's, hey, finding purchase intent using machine learning.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Think about what can be done with that type of patent. And if you look at the landscape of where our patents are, you look at companies like Metadata. I think you had brought it up before this. IBM, Microsoft, Amazon. Those are the type of companies that have patents that kind of sit or surround the patents that we have.
Okay.
So very big conglomerates.
Well, let me pause for a second just for some of our viewers and listeners here about when we talk about AI, you went real quick through some things. Let me kind of take us back just a second.
Yeah,
so help define for us what, from an AI standpoint, is natural language, machine learning, and deep learning. Maybe set the table for us on those real quick.
So one, I definitely have advisors to help me through most of that.
Sure.
There's a gentleman by the name of Neil Sahota that co-chairs for the United Nations on how climate change and AI can be used to help with it.
Okay.
And he's done TED Talks, so he's really accredited in AI, and he's an advisor of ours right now. But when you ask me, I guess I could break it down where natural language processing is different than what a lot of people, especially in the automotive space, say AI is. So a lot of technologies, especially ones that were created early on, were using more if-then type scenarios. So if they say this, then it means that, right?
Correct.
Or if it says this, then do that.
Yep.
Which was really cool early on.
Sure.
But conversations can go all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
And if you don't actually use natural language processing type AI, then you can never actually have a bot, right? Tell you what to say, when to say, or how to say it.
Got it.
Right. And actually steer a conversation.
Right.
You can have an if-then bot try to get a name and number from someone.
That's right.
But that's about right. Like
that's
right.
And if we were robots talking to robots, we could easily do that, right? Because the if-then would find exactly what we're looking for. But we're not like that. We're having all sorts of words all over the place. We're getting off topic, on topic, right? And it's got to take all of that and process that together naturally to be able to say, is there intent?
Well, and that's actually a good point, because the reason why automotive first, right? Because the algorithms and what I had acquired had already focused on automotive.
Sure.
And luckily that was my background, so I understood it really well.
Yeah.
And I also recognized what developers were doing with the training loop that was wrong.
Okay.
Because they didn't know automotive. So I was able to look at the training loop, see different words, and recognize what they meant to help train it that much better. So I'll give you an example.
Sure.
LR&R.
Okay. Don't know what that one is.
Okay. It stands for lease rates and residuals.
Got it.
MF, money factor.
Okay.
Not what most people think. But you get the concept. You get the idea. AI will get confused if you need to recognize those terms for everything. So what we've done is we've got repositories of data where we basically look for, like, so when I say Reddit, Reddit's huge, but you can't just scrape or have an API with all of Reddit. You need to choose subreddit channels.
Okay.
Same is true all over, but I'm using this one as the example. So we chose subreddit channels that have nothing to do with anything other than cars.
Got it. So that way you're limiting your scope of what the machine's trying to go.
Yes.
Got it.
Because when we want to go to real estate, when we want to go to doctors,
you got to get the natural language of real estate discussions versus a broad discussion that you may find there's a real estate conversation in this big old channel. You want just pure real estate channels. That makes sense.
Perfect. So another example, like we saw posts that had to do with golfing.
Okay.
But it was showing up to a dealer that was selling Volkswagen Golfs. It's like, nope, that's not what you do, right?
Yeah.
So, so anyway, we've narrowed it down so we can go out to any vertical and use this patent and the technology that we've created, and it's actually far easier to go to real estate or door-to-door sales like solar, alarms, pest control,
right,
or anything for that matter, after you conquer one, but especially automotive because it is very complex.
Sure.
So, purchase intent is one. Another patent is goods or services.
Okay.
So imagine somebody just going online mentioning that their back hurts. Right?
Yeah.
Chiropractor, massage therapist. Like, I could think of so many different companies, entities, people, or products that make sense to be advertised to that person now.
Sure.
And so we can use that as a driver and turn around and reach out to them or advertise to them.
So let me ask you this, because, right now we're in this privacy world, right, with cookies. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like right now, like if I go Google something,
Yep.
that specific Google, we're looking at what I Googled, not what I said, to then get me the advertisements that hit me all over the place, from, the TV to, showing up on my social media feeds.
Yeah.
But it's my direct intent to take an action that's being deciphered versus what I said. Is that the key difference that we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Which is a game changer.
It's a game changer.
And what I do know is that, there are devices by Amazon that are always listening.
Your phone too.
Yep. And the phone, and they're trying to grab certain keywords, if then.
If then, yes.
Right. Versus the natural language on things. So just for the viewers and the listeners out there, they may be saying, well, I get ads all day long. What's he talking about? It's the difference of, if then, what you brought up, or specific action if thens, versus natural language trying to decipher certain meanings from this, which is the difference.
No, that's a great way to put it. And goods and services, right? That's another patent that we have. And, we're not an advertisement agency, and we don't advertise to people. So whatever a company decides to do with what we can give them, it's up to them, right? We have created ways to reach out to these people. So we can actually allow a business, or let's say a dealership, to see a post on Reddit where somebody says, hey, I'm looking to buy an F-150 or a Raptor, and I got a 700 credit score, whatever. It's crazy what people post and the data they put out there.
Oh, actually, on these Reddits, right, they're looking for advice. They put a lot of personal details on these things. Just on the lawyer side that I see in some of these groups, and I don't share, but people will say, I've got this issue, and they give basically the fact pattern.
Yep.
And then seek feedback.
Yep.
And that's kind of what people do with their lives.
Yep.
Here's my fact pattern of my life.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's crazy. And
it's just crazy.
You bring up life, and that'll be my next patent that we'll talk about. But we can not only notify a business or a dealership, hey, this person's trying to buy a vehicle that you have right now on the lot, but we give them a way to actually correspond.
Got it.
On one dashboard.
Right. So you got just the top, like the identification, but then there's the engagement piece that you guys have.
Engagements is actually the product that we've come out with, right? That feeds into this, right? So earlier you had brought up inventory being a problem.
Sure.
Imagine AI and technology being able to go to Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and other private party listing sources. I won't sit here and list them all, but being able to get behind the CAPTCHAs. So for those of you that don't know what a CAPTCHA is, you probably do, but getting behind a puzzle to say you're not a robot.
I'm not a robot, which I still think is fascinating that a robot can't say they're not that they're not a robot.
But our robot can.
My point, finally. Yes. The commercial where it can't get through there, I'm like, surely somebody can get that around it. Case in point.
Yeah, we figured it out. So we can actually get behind the CAPTCHAs and add these private party listings to what we now have as a lead center. Now remember, my background's CRM. Right.
So now you're putting that into the CRM, and now
and the way that we integrate into CRMs is incredible, because I did not want to be a CRM, because I just saw everything in the inner workings of creating one and being one. But I saw a lot of gaps that all CRMs have. And so if we could kind of sit on top of a CRM, feed purchase intent opportunities to your business, allow automated campaigns via text, because there was no solution out there that really texts people the right way anymore. Texting solutions were first created 10, 15 plus years ago in these big CRMs. We actually can manage consent very differently than other texting solutions. So we can manage it all the way down to the source. So where somebody submits a lead. And if they have already consented, you don't have to ask them to opt out. You don't
As long as you can prove that they've consented.
Yeah, that they've already clicked something when they said, "Hey, I'm interested in this," right?
Right.
So anyway, I'm getting into like really the nuts and bolts.
Sure.
But not only can we find opportunities that you never would have found because there's over 200 million posts daily.
Right.
For you as a business to find the 2 or 3 in your area that makes sense for you, you just can't read that many. I don't care how big you are.
Right.
So,
you don't have enough Google searches that's going to get you where you need to be.
Right?
Especially since Google feeds you what they want to feed you versus, you know, a true feed or a true web crawler search.
And then you think about what these channels like Reddit and all these other places are being used as. So like Nextdoor is a newer app, right?
Yep.
For neighborhoods, right?
Yep.
People are going onto these applications and talking about businesses.
Yep.
Instead of trusting Yelp or Google reviews or, you know, other like Facebook platform to help with reviews, people are learning that those are padded often.
Yeah.
Right? Their businesses are making it easy for those people that had a good experience to talk about it.
That's right.
If they didn't have a good experience, it's not so easy.
Right. It's why Reddit has been so successful. It's unmoderated.
Exactly.
Right. Most products will, even if they start off unmoderated, will move to moderation in order to sustain what they've got for fear of what an unmoderated, you know,
Platform
community could do.
Can become.
Right. Could become. Right. So the evolution is people will keep moving.
Yeah.
And that's why Reddit's been so successful because it's been around for
long
15,
time.
20.
And it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's probably been around 20 years.
Yeah, long time.
It's been a long time.
So, anyway, I don't know where I was.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll get you off topic. Just give me a little bit.
Yeah. But anyway, we can, the reviews. So people are no longer trusting just like Google or Facebook 4 or 5 star reviews anymore.
Yeah.
So they'll go on to Reddit or Twitter and they'll talk about a business, and there's no software out there that can tell that business that, hey, your business was just mentioned on Reddit.
Reputation management, right? Yeah. Reputation management means I'm going to look at all the places they can leave reviews. I'll monitor those places they can leave reviews, and I'll tell you versus
and that's not
you're true. And I mean, there's been experiences, you know, where you know, I've seen people posting on somebody else's post something bad about a company. Had nothing to do with that company. That post really, they just had a shared experience, and there's a really bad review that's sitting out there, and got a lot of them. Yeah,
there's a ton. So based on what I'm seeing that reviews, Google, Facebook might always be there.
Yeah,
but I think people are starting to trust their public community forums a lot more, and they're having conversations about businesses, about brands, about products on these other sites. And so what we can do is we can actually notify you what people are really saying about your brand. What is your real reputation, not your star rating.
Yeah.
Right?
Which star ratings, don't get me started on that. You can have one person come in and blow you up.
Yeah, you can.
Right. It's a law of games. I mean, when I was with the hospital system, I mean, you know, we've got great, you know, care being done, but they don't leave reviews when you go to a hospital. You don't think like, hey, that was a great hospital bill. Let me leave a 5-star review from that, or thank you. They send notes, those sort of things, but nobody goes on. Now, if you have a bad one, you will find every platform you can to talk about a bad experience.
You're exactly right. That's why
that goes out there.
Exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't go on these review platforms like for Disneyland to talk about the incredible day they had. They'll talk about the food poisoning they got at the hot dog stand.
Yeah, that's right.
And so that's across the board. So like your hospital, for example, if a patient left, our technology, we could automatically send out a text saying, hey, how was your experience?
Right.
And then, if it was good, here's some live links to the review site.
Sure.
But beyond that, because there's other solutions that do that.
I was going to say, there are other products that do that. Right.
But they don't then use AI to look at the last 20 years of your reviews and tell you if there's a common theme on your 3-star, 2-star, 1-stars, right? And now we can...
This person is just a prick. They 2-star everybody. Don't trust what they say. Here's Negative Nelly. You know? Here's another guy. He's 5 stars everything. He got food poisoning. He still said 5 stars.
Well, and the other way around, right? So, hey, there's an employee that is getting mentioned over the last 10 years on only 1-star reviews.
That's right.
Right? Or a process, right? Or a product.
Right.
Right?
So and these are the bigger companies, right? These are your, your companies that are your Southwest Airlines, you know, very much consumer oriented.
That care.
Should care. And that the referrals really do make an impact.
Matter. Yeah.
Those reviews really make an impact.
Yeah.
You know, a smaller business like, a firm or something like that, we can manage those largely on our own.
Yeah.
Right, but for the larger organizations, they can't. There's too many channels. They're way too big.
Any business that has a lot of appointments, right?
Yeah.
Because these other platforms that do similar functionality, right? So they're not using AI to help really understand, but they also cannot tell you when somebody mentions you on Reddit or on Twitter or LinkedIn or any other platform. They're just focused on Google, Facebook, and maybe Yellow Pages or so. Yelp, actually, they don't even do.
Right. If you don't come through one of their designated social media channels,
they don't touch it.
Or one of the places they monitor. Yep. They have no idea it's out there.
And they're transactional based. So what happens is they wanted to automate it. So if somebody comes in and buys something, you can automate a text, right?
Yeah.
But what we do is you think of Calendly.
Yeah.
Right. Calendly is mainly for B2B. We've created something that can be B2B eventually, but right now B2C.
Okay.
So we can manage your entire appointment process all through automation, confirming appointments, allowing people to reschedule their appointments, essentially doing the job of a receptionist or a BDC, and doing it the way the customer wants. So it's a far better customer experience. Your appointment show rates go significantly up, right? Because the people that can't make it
tell you ahead of time.
And so what happens? Your no-call, no-shows go drastically down.
That's right. Your actual booking fulfillments is going to skyrocket because you can backfill.
Yep.
As opposed to just losing the no-shows and the cancels.
Exactly.
They are what they are. You've got a way to self-help and rebook so that way your number of actual appointments fulfilled skyrockets.
I promise we did not talk about this.
I've got some experience with that sort of stuff, so I understand.
The beautiful thing about this, though, is like we've also solved a way to clean up your CRM.
Okay.
So imagine not having to be logged into a CRM, but being able to update it.
Yeah.
So the biggest complaint when I was at building CRM or helping sell CRM was that managers have to chase their employees to update it.
Yeah.
And the employee's biggest complaint was that they have to update it.
That's right.
So what we can do is we can nudge your employees. So let's say that an appointment was scheduled for 3 o'clock.
Right.
At 5 o'clock, we can automatically send a text to the employee if we see that appointment hasn't been marked yet.
Right, and then say, hey, which one was it? And they'll just hit it with the button.
Boom, hit it, and then we'll update the CRM.
Yeah.
If it's a no-show, what do? We go reschedule the appointment for you.
Sure.
We automatically send a text to the customer.
Yeah.
Hey, you didn't make it at the appointment today. No problem. Click the link below to reschedule.
That's right. And I'm assuming, too, you can give them, the ratios and the measures so that way they can forecast better based on what they're doing.
Yep.
Hey, this is what our actual volumes and appointments are going to look like.
Yeah.
Yep. No, it's fascinating to me. Let me back up and ask you, from a broader, question here for this last, part is patents.
Yeah, let's do.
Because what you've just described is an operational company, right? Where you've got clear operations using those patents to, be competitive in a marketplace and to grow your company. But as you also just noted, you've got a patent portfolio with significant value. Some people just go for the patent, as far as the portfolio value of it. And some people go for just an operational and don't get the patent. Can you talk a little bit around the patenting of these processes and just your thought process with regard to when to engage a patent and how you view patents?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, because this is a controversy, even in my inner circle.
Sure.
Because most investors will say, "Hey, you're a startup. You don't need a patent."
Right.
But we recognized that AI is the way of the future, and filing for a patent, even before you can really accomplish something, makes a ton of sense because you're protecting your vision.
Sure.
Right? So we had a local lawyer, Summer Shaw.
Yep.
Right? Love him.
He's great.
Nothing but a gem. absolutely appreciate you too.
That's all right.
Yeah, we'll talk about summer because you brought up patents.
There you go. That's fine. You're on the podcast. That was a compliment enough. We're good.
Right. So anyhow, Summer has a great vision as well on patents and really educated me a lot. And because I love debate and negotiating, it was conversations that I enjoyed having. So that definitely helped.
Sure.
But the third patent, not just goods and services, right? But the third patent that we do already have is life events.
Okay.
So earlier you said people post their whole
Yeah.
life. You're absolutely right. They do. So we can see on public forums that when somebody graduates, gets promoted, has a baby, gets in a car accident, is moving, relocating. You think about all the businesses out there that want to be engaged at those times.
Health issues too. You can know when people are dealing with health issues, wellness issues,
all of it.
All those sort of things.
Yeah. So people have a birthday. You could be a business that sends a text or a message in Facebook Messenger, happy birthday.
Right.
So why we went down that road is to protect the vision of where we wanted to get, because earlier I had said, as long as you can persevere, you can accomplish anything. You can get through it. So if the vision was, I'm going to have patents that Microsoft and Amazon and IBM all want, I need to apply for them.
Yep.
Right. So, and once they were applied for, it was then my job to fulfill on them.
So that way you could actually get the patent, right?
Yeah. Because if you just leave it high and dry, it's worth nothing.
Yeah.
And so with Summers and guidance and help, we've been very fortunate to have 3 broad patents. And so, I think it was more or less to protect the vision of what we wanted to be doing with AI.
Yeah.
And now we're getting there, right?
Well, and it's interesting too, because you say to protect, right? I mean, you can, and I don't know, like Summer is an expert. I've got, friends that I call for IP. I'm not an IP attorney, but the other way you could look at it is we do the work today, keep an eye out, and we'll go ahead and fight a future patent because we did it first and go through that process. So that way you don't incur the cost now, you'll just do it down the road. And I mean, it's a trade-off, right? Because if I've got cash and I've budgeted it correctly on the operational side to do it, I think my preference would always be, if it's patentable and I think it's going to be extremely valuable patent and it's core to our business, do it now.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the money, which a lot of people run into, right, you have to kind of just get going and then figure out when the right time is to go get that patent.
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. So if you have a patent on it, doesn't matter if somebody was already doing it, you have the patent.
Sure.
Right? You filed it in 2017.
Yeah.
You've been developing it over time.
Yeah.
But to your credit there, to defend, right, and actually bring down and enact on this person's infringing or this company's infringing, I couldn't help. Like if Microsoft started doing it, I don't think I could
they're going to
help
out
them.
Yep. That's right.
And so you're right. Largely, until we get somewhere that we have the backing that can take on these behemoths, right? Then it's probably not worth a whole lot, other than I believe that those big companies will want to buy it, or potentially license it, especially because I think eventually both will want to do it, right?
Yeah.
And so now, all right, if only one of you want to do it, you have to buy this patent.
That's right.
Right. So, I think it was more or less the vision of where we were going. You're right. I don't think startups traditionally should pay for going after patents unless you think it's game changing and it's newer technology, because AI, even though we've had it for a while, it hasn't really been used in business besides like maybe the last 10 years.
Right.
And
we've been in a data aggregation mode and getting a handle on our data sources before we could actually get to how do we use those data sources.
And imagine, data being the oil of the 21st century.
Right.
200 million posts going, and it rising significantly.
Sure.
It's a lot of data.
Yep.
Right. So we've created an omni-channel communication platform website widgets that can sit on your website and help you chat with people or conversate and grab that as a lead. We can manage your appointments. We can find opportunities to do business. But the patents we're really excited about because of the vision and the long-term success that I and my team share and believe that we can accomplish, because we believe we will be that big.
Right. No, that's great. For this last little bit here, let me ask you a couple questions, because you started it off saying I was not born to do this, I was created, which again has been a great quote that I'm going to steal and give you credit at the same time for it. What's been the greatest lesson in almost 2 years now of running Social Mining AI? We're not quite 2 years, but let's just say almost 2 years, right? Yeah. What's been that biggest lesson that has helped in creating you to become the CEO that you can envision yourself becoming? Biggest lesson.
Just in the 2 years, or my whole life? That
2 years.
Let me
2 years.
Where I am?
Yeah, no, 2 years.
Okay, I'm still learning. A lot.
Sure.
But I think I've finally reached a point that I see the vision, right, and I see the potential that we have. It's massive.
Mm-hmm.
In order to scale, you have to trust other people.
Sure.
And trust in today's society is a fickle.
Can be.
Yeah, for a lot of people. And so who you end up trusting, right, and aligning with, very similar to your spouse.
Okay.
Right. I'm very fortunate to have a rock star at home, having my back. And I think through the last 2 years, I've learned that even more. I knew it before, but team is everything.
Yeah.
And in order to grow this, you've got to release the reins in certain parts of the business.
Sure.
And let people run with your baby.
That's right. You can't manage it the entire time. Yeah. In order to get to a big vision. You have to go to leadership with a little bit of management. Yeah. But if you try to do it with all management, you don't get anywhere.
I had that problem.
Not anywhere big.
I had that problem when I was the vice president of sales for Dealer Socket.
Mm-hmm.
I would tend to involve myself on
everything.
Yep.
And what you do is you shut down the machine. Yep. Because you're the bottleneck. And if you're the bottleneck, your people are frozen.
Yeah.
Versus leadership, where they feel empowered.
Exactly.
And can do what they need to do. But to your point, which I don't want to take away from it, it still comes back to, do you trust them? Because empowering somebody that doesn't meet your vision, your culture, your values, and the skill set capability could lead you in the wrong direction.
100%.
So it's hiring people at the beginning, that match that, but then empowering them to do that. Because if not, you're frozen.
Yeah.
And
I think
you become we have to go look at every single, post, every single meeting. Greg has to be in here in order to make a decision, versus natural AI that's saying, I can get all over the place and keep on going. I know what you mean.
I know what you're trying to say.
That's right. I know what you're trying to say. Yeah. What do you think the future is what do you see in the kind of final question here? What do you see as the future of AI in the retail space? This?
100%. I think a couple things. I think we're seeing the future without knowing it's there.
Right.
A lot of customers don't truly understand yet, but and you brought it up and hinted on it, where conversations are being heard and being used.
Yeah.
Privacy laws and all that. Well, when you think about retail, if you can use AI to find purchase intent, I think that covers just about everything in retail.
Sure. We'll take off the purchase, put intent.
Yeah.
If I can figure out what your intent is based upon there,
so
I can figure
ours
out
is
a
already
lot.
issued, and now we've filed we filed to take out the word purchase.
Yeah.
We knew we'd get purchase because we were there.
Yeah.
But now we're definitely trying to broaden it even further by taking out the word
purchase. At that point in time, make an app that I can record our conversation. Go, what was his intent?
Yes. And
because I heard his words, but I'm not sure I got his intent off of that. And right? That's where communication breaks down.
There are communication AI platforms that I know that are really good at that.
Wow.
Right? Being able to not even. So we can do intent, but imagine being able to say, hey, this is who this person is. This is, even though this is what they said, this is what they meant. Right? And so I need that from my wife.
I was gonna say every single relationship, every woman's gonna be like, nope, this is what you said, and it says this is the intent. Don't tell me it was something different. Great.
No, I don't try to say that loosely or with any sense of pride.
No,
because there's been a lot of great minds that have led us down this path and helped us get here. But I certainly believe that AI and retail specifically, if you know when somebody's going through a life event, if you know when somebody needs a good or a service done, and in that one, the goods or service, intent is the word. There's no purchase there.
Oh, okay.
Right? But then the purchase intent specifically, I mean, I think we're pretty well covered on being able to use at least social media for social mining.
That's great. Greg, thanks so much for coming here on this. It's been fascinating to me. And you can tell I'm a little bit of a geek. I don't know much, but I know just a little bit to be dangerous on it. For those of you that have been listening and watching us, thank you for continuing to support the podcast. If you're listening on one of the sources there, click the subscribe button. That way, you can know what's going on. We've got great speakers and guests, just like, Greg, coming through. We've been very, very lucky to have great people to come on the show. And then if you're watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment so that way we know. We'll put the details for SocialMiningAi and Greg in there so that way you can get a hold of them if you need to. And until next time, we'll see you then. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.